to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Before I get started, I just want to let you guys know tonight, voice is feeling good enough. I think I'll be able to go live around 8:30, 8:45, do a little Q&A for a few hours, recap the draft with you guys. So I'm really looking forward to that. But in this video, I am going to talk about perhaps my favorite draft pick out of all of them. And I loved Andrew Thomas. I loved all of them. But I really loved Xavier Mckinney when I jumped into it. This guy fits our defense perfectly. He's got everything that you could possibly be looking for in a football player. Work ethic, off the charts. Right attitude. Coming in to work hard. He's brought up from Nick Saban. Connection to Joe Judge. Versatile. It's exactly what Joe Judge and the New York Giants were looking for. I think a lot of Giants fans wanted Isaiah Simmons with our first pick at number 4 overall, and I can't blame him. Guy's a tremendous talent, and I'm not saying McKinney is Simmons. He's not. I mean, you look at Simmons, the guy's an athletic freak. The guy, I think he's 235 pounds. The guy ran a 4.39 40. McKinney, although we're going to get into why, only ran a 4.62, stands at 6'1", 200 pounds. I think he's closer to around a 4.5, 4.52 speed. In actuality, a lot of people compare him to Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's also incredibly versatile, played at the same university. Fitzpatrick was a first-round pick, and that's where McKinney was supposed to go. You go back, you look at all the mock drafts by the experts. This guy was the consensus top safety in this year's class, and he was. He still ended up going as the top safety. Most people had him pegged to go to the Dallas Cowboys, and I think there's a good chance he would have at 17 had CeeDee Lamb not been there. Cowboys need a lot of help in that secondary. They end up passing on him, and he falls to the New York Giants all the way down at 36. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't do a lot of research on McKinney because I didn't think the New York Giants were going to be able to get him. You know, I thought they'd be ended up with a guy like Bourne in the second round if they were going defense, or Yetur Gross-Matos possibly. But they end up getting a top 20 talent with the number 36 pick and a guy that fits our defense perfectly. Dave Gettleman was reportedly received a trade that they were willing to trade down had McKinney not dropped there. But Gettleman and Judge apparently both thought he was too good to pass up, and they elected not to trade down. They stood pat, and they took McKinney at 36. And this pick is great. I cannot wait to show you guys some of the quotes that his former coach Nick Saban had to say about him, how he feels about being a New York Giant, how he feels about playing with structure. Cannot wait to jump into this kid. Cannot wait to see how this guy plays with the New York Giants. But here's McKinney. The first thing I want to show you guys was just, how he performed well at Alabama. And keep in mind, this guy played all over the field. Freshman year didn't play much. Sophomore and junior year, he played a lot. Had 74 combined tackles in his sophomore, 95 in his junior. Had a combined 11.5 tackles for loss, 6 combined sacks over his last 2 years, 5 combined interceptions. And one other thing I really want to point out to you guys, because I didn't pull up the quote, but Saban really hit home with this. Really good at forcing fumbles. Saban says that they coach their players up to do that, and McKinney is really good at that, at 4 forced fumbles from the safety position in his junior year well at Alabama. So hopefully he can bring that to the New York Giants, something we've really struggled with at creating turnovers. Next thing we're going to pull up for you guys is this. This was off Giants Wire. It was initially posted by PFF. What I wanted to show you guys here is just his versatility, his ability to play all over the field. When you heard the word versatile all throughout the draft process, Isaiah Simmons was the first name to come to mind. But another name should have. Xavier McKinney. There have been only 5 safeties to play over 450 snaps in the box, slot, and at the free safety position over the past 2 years. That's pretty incredible. This guy's played over 450 snaps in 3 different positions over the last 2 years well at Alabama. So he's already familiar with what the New York Giants are going to be asking him to do. And only one of those 5 produced a 70-plus grade at all 3 of those alignments. Xavier McKinney. He actually produced a grade of over 79 in all 3 alignments. So incredibly impressive stuff. Fits our defensive philosophy. Hard worker. Came from Saban. Everything's pointing in the right direction for this kid. Now, do I think he's going to be used the same way that Simmons would have been? No, because he's 200 pounds. I think he's going to be used more in a Troy Polamalu-like way. And not that I'm comparing him to Polamalu, but Polamalu was a guy that was used all over the field. He was used in blitzes off the edge, up the middle, whatever it may have been. I think you're going to see that with McKinney. I think you're going to see the Giants try to generate a pass rush as much as coverage from some of their players in the secondary. Guys like Peppers, guys like McKinney, showing blitzes in certain aspects. And I think McKinney could do that. Here's a quick breakdown of his overall game. McKinney is a versatile defensive back that could fill multiple roles at a high level for an NFL defense, just like he showcased at Alabama. Whether it's deep zones, man coverage from the slot, or lining up close to the line of scrimmage, McKinney can execute. He showcases good processing speed, functional athleticism, and the size needed to perform. There are times his angles can be too flat, which impacts his tackling results, which could be coached up, right? Of course, Saban's a great coach, but I'm sure Judge and the New York Giants DB's coach, Henderson, are going to try to, improve some of the things in his game. For a defense that likes to be matchup specific with its defensive backs, McKinney's presence should lend itself to more scheme multiplicity. Well, that's the New York Giants. They're all about scheme multiplicity. And then they later go on to say that that's what he did with Nick Saban well at Alabama. And you go back, you look at Patrick Graham. He's going to, everything the guy says, he's going to throw you every look in the book. This is a quote from Saban regarding his ex-player Xavier McKinney. He's got a lot of diversity as a player, Saban said. He's physical. He's very aggressive. He can run fast enough. He's a good enough cover guy. So to me, he's more of the prototype safety that people are looking for right now. And he's right. A lot of teams are looking for safeties like this, Minkah Fitzpatrick being one of them. He played all over the field. Next quote I wanted to bring up for you guys. It means a lot to him, Saban said. The guy's a hard worker. Really wants to learn and do his job well. And he's easy to coach. I think he's a really good player. Well, I mean, right there, Joe Judge has come in and said he wants to be a teacher for his players. He wants his coaches to be teachers for players. For these players to be, to be able to be taught, they have to be willing to be taught. And that's what Saban's basically saying here. He's like a sponge. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. I always emphasize with him, you've got to be able to play the ball in the deep part of the field. He's worked really hard on that. He's made of the right stuff. Now this, I wanted to pull up, this was McKinney talking about discipline, talking about structure, and how he's open to it, how he welcomes it, how he feeds off of it. I'm good with structure. It's never been a problem for me. It wasn't a problem when I went to school as a freshman. Those are the things that I like a lot, McKinney told reporters during a conference call. I actually love having that structure and having that strict, almost tight ship being run by the coaches. For me, I always do what I'm asked to do, and I try to do it at a high level. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to win. I'll do whatever it takes to be able to win games and anything I can do to help. I mean, what does that sound like? Tight ship, structure, Joe Judge. I mean, Joe Judge might as well be, an instructor in the military with the way that, he orchestrates a football team. I think that's why New York Giants fans love this guy. He's strict. He's confident. He knows what he wants. Well, McKinney is saying, let's rock and roll. That's the type of coach I want. That's what I'm accustomed to with Alabama. And that's what makes me a better football player. So I love that quote, reading that. And then this was him regarding his 40 time. Of course, a lot of people said that was going to hurt his draft stock, being that he ran a 4.62 40. You look at a guy like Fitzpatrick. I think Fitzpatrick ran a 4.46 or a 4.48. And McKinney, if you remember correctly, during the combine, he cramped up after he ran the time. And he later goes on to say, the time that I ran at the combine, that was a fake time. I caught cramps before I actually ran. McKinney said, that was actually my worst time throughout the whole process. My best time was a 4.52 while I was training. If I got to do it at the pro day, I thought I was going to run a good time. I'm not too worried about the 40. That's why I didn't run it again. I knew my tape said it all, and I didn't have anything to prove running the 40. There was no reason for me to do that. And he basically, he's basically saying there, listen, I know what I am. I know the coaches know what I am. I'm a very good football player. I'm a guy that could move around in the box. A 40 time is not going to change the way coaches feel about me. I was the consensus top safety, and he was. Just went a little bit later than people thought. But the Giants needed that position. A lot of my subscribers started to open up to the possibility of taking a safety in round 2, as well as myself, because I thought that it would have lent the versatility in that secondary, allowing them to move players around. Whether it was Julian Love in the slot, whether it was moving Peppers up to the linebacker role, showing different looks to opposing offenses. And that is what McKinney is going to allow not just himself, but the rest of the members in that secondary to do. The New York Giants defense, I think, could surprise some people. Now, do I think it's going to be an elite defense? No. I still think we're an elite pass rusher away from being a very good defense. But I think the Giants are going to use that secondary, use that interior defensive line to generate a pass rush. They have a very strong interior defensive line with guys like Dexter Lawrence and, Dalvin Tomlinson and Leonard Williams and everybody else they have up there. I think that will allow them to collapse the pocket, and maybe you'll generate a pass rush from blitzes from guys like McKinney and Peppers. And obviously Fackrell and everyone else they brought in, Lorenzo Carter. But I do really like this secondary. It's young. It's emerging. It's only going to get better with proper coaching from guys like Joe Judge, from guys like Henderson. And I like the defensive line. I think the Giants are really building a nice young defense. It may take another year before we get it to where it needs to be, but McKinney is going to be a big part of that. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.